Live from KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
A Bexar County court employee accused of making unauthorized traffic stops in this decked-out SUV.
The stops interrupted by an officer who became suspicious and confronted the deputy overnight. As
Dylan Collier reports, BCSO now trying to determine how long this was happening.
This was the scene before 1 this morning at the intersection of Timber Cloud and Ridgeleaf on the city's far west side. An off-duty Bexar County Sheriff's Court employee in custody, accused of pulling people over along Culebra Road in this white SUV that at first glance appears to be a police vehicle. A public records search shows instead it is privately registered to the BCSO employee who lives a half mile from where he was briefly detained. The deputy's actions shut down by a Northside ISD police officer who saw 2 of the stops, then asked the court employee what was going on.
Northside police tell us the BCSO employee would not identify himself and was also acting inappropriate and suspicious.
The deputy, an 18-year veteran who was let go this morning without being criminally charged, did not respond to a message-seeking comment. A vehicle parked in his driveway also had lights similar to what police use. Dylan Collier, KSAT 12 News.
Now, the sheriff's office is asking for the public's help with this investigation. If you believe you may have been stopped by this deputy in the areas of Loop 410, Culebra, and Reed Road last night, you're asked to call 335-5124 or email bcsotips@bear.org.
The emotional toll the coronavirus pandemic is taking on us cannot be ignored. And now we know more specifically what shape that is taking. The latest Fairfax KSAT Rivard Report poll shows we are more worried than assured about our future, and it's time to take stock. Ursula Perry with more on how Bexar County is feeling about COVID-19.
How are you doing? The alarming pandemic has shut down our lives in so many regards, but its impact inside the home is what the Fairfax KSAT Rivard Report poll reveals. 59% of us are worried, not just about ourselves, but that someone in our home will get this infection.
One of the things that comes up is the lack of the ability to control what's going on around us. Causes for many people severe anxiety, frustration, depression, and other kinds of symptoms.
There's a gamut of emotions, too. We're just a tad more worried than we are hopeful. 15% of us split our time between feeling grateful and feeling anxious, too. In other words, it's a lot.
That there are probably an equal number of people who are worried versus those who think, I'm going to get through this, we're going to all get through this, and life is going to go on. This, too, will pass.
And the poll shows we think it will. Moore said it'll be under control in 3 to 12 months, but admitted the economy might not bounce back that fast.
And finally, what are you looking forward to the most? Well, an overwhelming 26% of us just want to go socialize with friends and family. 14% of us want to chow down outside of the house. And then there's 11% who want to work out, 10% who just want to work, and 7% who would like to attend church services. Let us pray one day soon we will. Ursula Perry, KSAT 12 News.
Well, with schools closed since March, there are rising concerns about distance learning. That's according to that same Fairfax KSAT Rivard Report poll. 48% are saying distance learning is not productive, with only 33% thinking distance learning is extremely or very productive. Stephanie Cerna spoke with a local parent and a local teacher about their experiences with distance learning. And while both say it's been a learning curve, they say they're making it work.
We don't try to be perfect, and some days are better than others.
Kristen Hood has a second grader, a fifth grader, and an eighth grader, all who have been distance learning since their schools closed.
I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not, with 2 working parents full-time at home.
With 3 students in school, that means 3 different course loads. Not to mention that Kristen's 8th grader has 7 different teachers.
We have a lot of conflicting time frames as far as, their meetings and our meetings. They do the work, but then sometimes they forget to submit or turn in. It's just, there's a lot of buttons to click and make sure that processes are going through. So
it's been a change for teachers, too. Emily Countryman is an 8th grade history teacher at Rawlson Middle School, and she's in charge of 6 classes.
So the kids up at the secondary level were familiar with Google Classroom and turning in work there. So I think for the secondary students, it made the transition a little bit easier. Of course, we had a huge learning curve on Zoom and how to screen record some lessons. And so that sort of thing was a little different.
In addition to her 165 8th grade students, Emily is also homeschooling her 2 daughters.
It's taken some adjustment for them to understand that when I'm, working or on a Zoom call, that they can't always come in and interrupt. My own children will be the first to say, I cannot replace their kindergarten and 2nd grade teachers for anything. But they have done really well.
Stephanie Cerna, KSAT 12 News.
We are just getting started with the results of the Bear KSAT Rivard Report poll, the Bear Facts KSAT Rivard Report poll. Coming up in less than half an hour, we're going in depth on the results and the reaction to them. A special virtual town hall will begin at 6:30 on air and online at the same time. At 7 o'clock, we're going to continue the conversation on KSAT.com. We'll be breaking down the numbers with local experts, talking about local issues, and get reaction from Mayor Ron Nirenberg and Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf.
The San Antonio Food Bank putting out the call for volunteers to help them get food to seniors in need who can't get to food distribution events. The number of seniors who need help has gone up during the pandemic. So the nonprofit is looking for volunteers who take the food to them. Specifically, they need people who can make 5 deliveries per trip in their own car and then drop off the food without making contact with the person getting the food. The number of people the food bank is helping every week has doubled, and the need for volunteers is growing.
And so we've opened up some slots on our website, hoping that individuals that have some free time and want to get involved will volunteer.
The food bank needs volunteers in almost every part of the organization as well. If you can help them out, go to safoodbank.org, click on the volunteer link, and fill out the form. Expect an email back with the details.
For today's Wish List Wednesday, we're putting the KSAT Community Spotlight on the Ronald McDonald House Charities. We're trying to help and get the word out that the work of local nonprofits continues amidst the coronavirus pandemic. Ronald McDonald House has been keeping families close for more than 35 years. You can drop off donations at the front door of the Ronald McDonald House located at 4803 Sid Katz Drive. You can also donate money online or shop from their Amazon wish list. You can find a list of needed supplies and more information under the community section of KSAT.com.
Taking a look now at your time saver traffic, you're looking at a shot of I-35 and Evans Road, where traffic is running very smoothly out there on this Wednesday. Again, I-35 and Evans Road tonight. Well, new at 6, usually June is one of the busiest months of the year for weddings, but not now and not with COVID-19 still out there. Anxious couples, wedding planners, all those important details are still up in the air. Although some had to cancel their weddings, Jesse Degollado says postponing others took rearranging plans in the works for months.
How's this for a marriage proposal? On the 50-yard line, much less, at Royal Memorial Stadium. Morgan Reidelhuber and Grant Webben planned to be married next month until a worldwide pandemic hit. They were sad having to postpone it until August.
But of course, most of it came from a place of understanding.
We caught it early enough that we were able to not have to cancel the wedding entirely. We were able to just push it back a few months.
Florist David Garcia knows about change in plans. His spring calendar wide open. The cooler, once filled with fresh flowers, is empty for now. Garcia says luckily he has other weddings and events still happening this fall.
Now, in addition, we have our secondary batch, which is all of the postponements that are scheduled.
Even then, he says those weddings may still have to be downsized for social distancing.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that a lot of brides are going to be willing to adjust their guest counts.
Morgan and Grant say they hope everyone they invited can join them in August, unlike their first option.
Keep the date and not throw a huge wedding and run to the courthouse and get married.
No one's going to be mad at you for making the decision if you decide you want to run to the courthouse.
We won't hold ourselves to a TV interview that we're going to go run to the courthouse and get married, though.
There will be a wedding one way or the other.
Jesse Degollado, KSAT 12 News.
That's called being committal but non-committal.
Yes.
Live
Good luck to them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Live look outside with City Cam. Today, I guess the temperature wasn't that much different, but it felt a lot better.
It felt amazing outside today.
Definitely had to drop off. Front, so temperatures have definitely responded as well. Yesterday we had a record in Del Rio. Today that wasn't the case. We're 10 degrees cooler there. 85 right now in San Antonio. Dew point of 39. That's the nice thing about the dry air that's in place, which will lead to a cooler night tonight, actually running a little below average. Just look at the temperatures. We're expecting by midnight into the 60s. Tomorrow morning at sunrise, 55 degrees. How's that? Aquifer up a little bit right near the April average. And taking a look at our pollen count, oak, mold, grass, and pine, all low today. We'll talk about when the heat and humidity returns coming up.
University of Incarnate Word nurses helping to care for the most vulnerable in our community. We'll tell you what they're doing tonight.
All right, this is the part of the day where we get the update from San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg and County Judge Nelson Wolf about what is happening with coronavirus in our community. We were just told in a press release that they will be issuing emergency orders to extend what's happening. Let's listen in now from City Hall.
Assistant District Attorney Larry Robertson. This is our daily update on COVID-19 in San Antonio. Tonight we have 1,326 total confirmed cases of COVID-19 in our community. That's up 19 from yesterday. We have a total of 45% of our cases recovered. That means that 690 people so far are fighting the virus in our community. We do have 2 additional deaths to report, bringing our total deaths associated with COVID-19 in San Antonio to 46. The number of COVID positive patients in the hospital continues a modest decline. We're now at 55 tonight. An additional 35 people are being investigated as potentially having COVID-19 who are in the hospital. 36 patients are in ICU, up 3 from yesterday, and now we have 20 people on ventilators tonight. So we do have plenty of available capacity in our hospitals, and that's a good thing. I know the judge will appreciate this, and we're missing a lot of things that are normal for this time of year. One of them is baseball. Sports is one of those things that has been disrupted, and we even heard Dr. Fauci talk about that. All the sports have been suspended that are for spectators. And I was just seeing the NFL draft hosted their virtual draft on TV, no crowds around or anything like that. To put this in a sports analogy where we are with this disease, the cardinal sin in football is you do not turn the ball over in the red zone. We're seeing our numbers trend very well. People are doing an excellent job protecting their neighbors through social distancing and making sure that we're wearing our masks and all the things that we know the public health professionals tell us are protecting ourselves from the spread of this virus. We have slowed the spread. We want to continue to contain it so we can get through this as quickly as possible. So tonight, Judge and I are going to be issuing our new emergency orders to coincide with the state's new declarations with regard to reopened businesses that resume business on Friday. This is to ensure that we continue to do our jobs to protect the public and that we can get through this period of the containment of COVID-19 as quickly as possible. Judge?
Thank you. Well, we do keep up the mandatory stay at home. We know there's more exceptions to that than it was before, because the fact that the governor has opened up retail, opened up restaurant services, movie theaters, and malls. So we know you're going to move around a lot more than you did before, but we really encourage particularly those to stay at home that are facing health issues. They're the most vulnerable, whether it be diabetes, whether it be high blood pressure, and whether it be age. So we want to keep that going and really encourage you to work with us on keeping that going. Second, what we've done to really kind of strengthen things, the governor had put aside a Open Texas with a number of strong health recommendations, similar to what our health committee said. What the mayor and I are doing, we're putting that into our order and that will become a mandatory thing to follow for each industry that's listed in there, how they would go about and how they would have to spread out. We thought there was some good information in there. Doesn't violate the governor's orders, it just gives teeth to it, and so we're putting that in there. We're keeping up the mandatory face covering. We think that's extremely important. If you're going to help anybody, there's some 2 or 3 major rules. I guess the 2 major ones: stay 6 foot away if you can. If you can't, have a face covering. So we're going to continue to make that mandatory, and we think that that's what the governor should have done, but didn't do. Going to continue up in order to keep evictions from happening. We know the incident that happened the other day. If it's an illegal lockout, we have on our Bear website how you can fill out some forms, don't have to hire a lawyer, and our GPs will give that a emergency meeting to do. We're also stopping foreclosures for past taxes. We closed it in April, and the May one will be closed again. There will not be a foreclosure going on at the courthouse. Second, we are requiring, if you come to any county facility, we're requiring a temperature test, and we're requiring that you wear a face mask when you come in. Price gouging is still in it. In our detention center, let me make this clear. On our personal recognizance bond, we are not releasing people that have a violent history. There was a case the other day. We didn't release it. Been there several months, and a judge did it. That's not part of our policy. So anybody can get out if they're paying a bond also. So we are not in a front end in our personal recognizance letting anybody get out that has a violent offense. So I think that's about it, Mayor.
Thank you, Judge. I do want to remind folks that it is very easy to get tested. And if you're experiencing symptoms, we do want you to call and get screened and get your appointment for a test. You can do that at no cost by calling 311, or you can visit covid19.sanantonio.gov. Tests are available at no cost through our Freeman Coliseum site, as well as through Texas Med Clinic at 2530 Southwest Military. And there's even a drive-through clinic at Walmart at 8923 West Military Drive. More information about testing, again, covid19.sanantonio.gov, and you can get all the latest information about COVID-19 in our community at that website as well. If you prefer text, for the latest information, just text KOSA-GOV to 55000. And we do have our attorneys here, so we are happy to answer any questions about the orders or anything else at this point.
All right, the mayor and county judge, they're continuing to take questions during their daily briefings, which, by the way, you can also watch in its entirety on KSAT.com. But the big takeaway from this is the announcement of this new order that starts tonight at 11:59 that will coincide with the state's order. A lot of things in that, one of which is they will be incorporating the health recommendations from the state and then putting them in these orders, which will be voted on by council, by the way, tomorrow.
Right. And I know some of those orders have particular thresholds that you have to meet before you can open, or thresholds, that reinstate. So it'll be interesting to see if those are in there. The most interesting thing to me is they are making it still mandatory to wear a face covering if you're above the age of 10 in Bexar County and the city of San Antonio. The governor did not do that. Now, the way that I'm thinking maybe they're getting around it is Judge Wolf said we are adding teeth to some of his recommendations. So it'll be interesting to see with the lawyers that are there. And actually, we're going to be talking to the mayor and the county judge a little bit later in this show. And so it'll be interesting to see how they think they can get around that, or if there are penalties for that. If you make it mandatory, that kind of alludes to the fact there's going to be penalties, but maybe they're not having penalties with it. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, he also spoke about evictions and foreclosures, and there will also be some stipulations there on price gouging. But at the end of the day, the mayor's saying, and using that football analogy towards the beginning, that we're trending well. The numbers here are trending well, and we don't want a turnover. And so that, necessitates this order that will be extended until May 19th at about midnight. And I wonder if that thinking also plays into the fact they think they can do some of these things that the governor did not necessarily order. Anyway, let's turn to weather right now, and beautiful day out there. I'd take a few more of these days.
Absolutely. A lot of people are on the same page. I have to say, I have a first in my almost 19-year career. I got an email from a kind woman named Ann earlier today who said she loves the humidity and wants the humidity to return. You know, because normally we talk about it like, hey, these are great days.
You know, on the plus side, humidity is good for your skin.
There you go.
Yeah,
See, there are some benefits. You know, it's easy to just automatically think, oh, these are just the best days because of the lack of humidity. Some people love it, just like some people love the heat in the winter, and heat in the summer and the cold in the winter. So, Anne, your time is coming this weekend. Yes, the humidity will return then. Otherwise, if you like the lack of humidity, next few days, enjoy. North breeze right now at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Even lighter in some instances. The wind has really calmed down compared to what we had earlier today. We had some peak gusts around 40 miles per hour earlier this morning as a cool front hit. Now, the wind not nearly as bad. You don't hear it shaking the trees outside as much. We're in the 80s for the most part. Bernie Stage at 79 degrees, 79 Lost Maples, Canyon Lake at 81, and 85 on the south side at Stinson Airport. And just 90 in Del Rio, a far cry from the 102 they had yesterday, which was a record for the day. So not only does the humidity return this weekend, but the heat's coming back as well. I mean, we'll be back into the 90s by Saturday, mid, maybe even upper 90s as we get into Tuesday of next week. 96, maybe on the low end. I wouldn't be surprised if we even start to get a little hotter than that. Here's the reason. We have quiet weather pattern right now. The action is in this big dip in the upper level flow along and east of the Mississippi for the eastern third of the U.S. Big Blue H has been over the desert southwest, giving them a little bit of a heat wave. That's going to slowly be settling in as we transition to it, the comfortable lack of humidity. But once it's in place, we're going to see those temperatures rise, as I showed you, well into the 90s this weekend and early next week. 55 tomorrow morning, sunny 86 in the afternoon. Friday, pretty much the same. Then the humidity returns this weekend, and there's a spike in temperatures, but unfortunately, no good chance of rain.
All right, thank you, Adam.
Larry's up next with sports.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
With their final pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select their quarterback Ben DiNucci out of James Madison, 7th round, 231 overall. Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy is known as a QB guru, so it's a young guy he can develop. McCarthy's brother was DiNucci's 8th grade basketball coach, and Mike and DiNucci, well, they met on an elevator once before.
I really like Ben's story. Ben and I come from the same area back here in Pittsburgh, so I'm very aware of everything he's done, from Pine Richland High School all the way through there to University of Pittsburgh, and we felt very fortunate that he was there in the 7th round. So I think he'll be an excellent addition to our quarterback room.
Alton Robinson is the latest Judson Rocket to see his NFL dream come true. The defensive end was drafted in the 5th round, 148 overall. He joins fellow Rocket Trey Flowers, who was drafted in the 5th round in 2018 by Seattle. 2 Judson Rockets on the same NFL squad. That's no surprise to Judson's former head football coach, Sean McCullough.
Very, very similar kids, and I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. Maybe that's how we ended up out there with him. Because of the quality person that Trey is, and playing at a really, really quality football program, and now you got another opportunity to sign another kid where you kind of know the background and the things that he's experienced and so on and so forth.
Congratulations to Texas State linebacker Brian London II for signing with the LA Rams as an undrafted free agent. He tweeted out the good news. The Randolph High School alum is a great player who can make the Rams based on his special teams play alone. He's got a nose for the ball, that's for sure. He's a 4-year starter, and his 459 career tackles rank 20th among the NCAA FBS career leaders.
Whether you have much or a little bit, doesn't matter. Every little bit helps. We need to come together as a city and just stay safe out there.
That's Georgia wide receiver and Clemens High School product Tommy Bush asking for our help. Bush has teamed up with area football greats Caden Stearns, Trey Flowers, Malcolm Brown, Derek Kerstetter, and Rashad Wisdom to raise money for the San Antonio Food Bank. And of course, any amount will help. Faith Family Food Team San Antonio, to donate money, please go to my.safoodbank.org/tackle COVID-19. Their goal is $50,000. And it's time to get pumped up with Wyoming Cowboys quarterback Levi Williams. He tweeted this video saying, by any means necessary. The Smithson Valley alum pulling a Toyota 4Runner while sitting down. Then he gets up and pushes it backward before pulling it forward one more time while standing up and building up those leg muscles. The 4Runner weighs 4,805 pounds. He does this at least once a week, busting out 6 reps. And his mom, while she was inside working the brakes. That's good news. We'll be back after the break.
Welcome to the start of our virtual Fairfax KSAT Rivard Report poll virtual town hall. I'm Steve Spriester along with EC's Romero. We are simulcasting on KSAT 12 as well as KSAT.com. And I want to mention the fact that there are a lot of numbers in the poll that we released yesterday. There are a lot of numbers when it comes to the coronavirus, people who have recovered, people who have unfortunately passed away, people who have been deemed positive. What we hope to do over the next hour and a half is go through those numbers and figure out where we are right now and where we are going and what the people in Bexar County are telling us they think in this whole thing.
We are joined by our esteemed guests, Christian Archer and Bob Rivard. Thank you so much for joining us, both with Fairfax and the Rivard Report, which are our partners in this endeavor. And Christian, I want to begin with you and asking you a little bit about the mission of this endeavor and the methodology behind this poll.
Sure, EC, thanks for the question, and good evening, guys. You know, about 4 months ago, Steve, Bob, and I got together and we talked about the need for fact-based data on the issues that matter to San Antonio and to Bexar County. And so we put together a bipartisan group of people that we call our executive committee, different members from around the community, to talk about the issues that really matter to San Antonio, and to go into the field and do scientific-based polling on the issues that are important to the city today, and even more importantly, looking toward the future. And so in our first poll in February, we looked at the big issues like the mayor's transit initiative, pre-K for essay, the aquifer protection program. And we had a great poll. It went in depth. And our second poll, so we're going to do a poll every 3 months. That was our intention, our original intention, to do a poll between the Fairfax, KSAT 12, and the Rivard Report. But because of what happened with the pandemic nationally, we decided to accelerate the second poll and really understand people's feelings about the pandemic in San Antonio and how it's affecting the community. So we do, we do 668 people across the city and the county, partisans, likely voters for November, so that we can have two polls, one poll of city voters and one poll of county voters, and we combine them, but you can break it up and look at the city or the county.
Hey, Robert Rivard, who is of course the mastermind behind the Rivard Reports, and we're going to talk to the county judge, we're going to talk to the mayor coming up, and we're going to go through some of these numbers and also just take viewer questions that they have in this whole thing. What do you want to hear from the mayor and the county judge tonight?
Steve, I think the poll showed very, very high levels of confidence locally among likely voters in both the leadership of Mayor Nirenberg and Bexar County Judge through the coronavirus outbreak and through the ensuing shutdown. And people, by very large, significant majority numbers, were very comfortable with the emergency orders and the balance that elected officials were striking between stay home, work from home, stay safe, and trying where they could to keep the economy going. The governor's announcement Monday and his subsequent order in some ways contradict the local emergency orders, and it will be interesting to hear from Mayor Nirenberg and Judge Wolf how they're going to reconcile those differences.
Yeah, it's certainly a timely discussion because the new emergency orders were basically issued just moments ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And Christian, you mentioned that the first poll was taken back in February. And speaking of the mayor and county judge, there was a significant increase in the favorability ratings for both the mayor and county judge. Does that, for both of you, does that surprise you? And what can you tell us about that?
You know, to me, Bob, if you don't mind, I'll just start. I worked for Mayor Hardberger in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina hit the city of New Orleans, and Mayor Hardberger reached out to the victims of the Hurricane Katrina, and San Antonio really opened its arms, and his approval rating just shot right through the roof because of his leadership and because, he took direct action. And I think that the mayor and the county judge's numbers reflect the leadership that they've shown in being way ahead of the game when it comes to protecting the citizens in San Antonio. And the jump was so dramatic. In the original poll we did, sorry, I'm just pulling up the numbers real quick.
Yeah, we've got him actually on the screen right now, Christian. He went from 56%, the mayor, from 56% to 74, and the county judge went from 55 to 71 in the latest poll.
I mean, look, I've been involved in politics in San Antonio for going on 2 decades. Those type of numbers never happen. That kind of a leap forward. And I pointed out yesterday on KSAT.com, the people that disapproved of the mayor in February has also dropped by 1/3, another significant number. And I think it just goes to show their willingness to lead. Their nightly reports are informative, they're direct, they're succinct with the numbers, and they've given people a direct way to respond to the virus. And it's clear as a bell in these numbers as we get further into the data. People in San Antonio responded overwhelmingly.
We need to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this virtual town hall centered on the Fairfax KSAT Rivard Report poll and what it told us about where we are and what the opinions are in our community about not only our leaders, but some of the major issues that are facing us. Robert Rivard from the Rivard Report joins us. When we talked yesterday, we did a live stream on KSAT.com, Bob, and you called this Ron Nirenberg's finest hour. Explain that a little bit.
Well, I think that, you're looking at a mayor who is early in his second term, first year of his second term. He had a very rough first term, one where he was reacting to an awful lot of developments. He was taken into a runoff by a rookie councilman who really didn't have much of a public service record, but nonetheless put a real scare in him. And so he was not the strongest mayor that we've seen in contemporary times. Christian mentioned Bill Hardberger for one, but this has truly given him an opportunity to demonstrate leadership, and he has done it in spades, in my opinion. He's made all the right moves. He has been a calming force for the city. He responded very early. If you compare him to leaders in other leading U.S. cities, other governors, we faced this head on very quickly. Some of those decisions, particularly in the beginning, before people completely grasped the dimension of the problem, were unpopular. They were difficult, but they took those decisions nonetheless. And in hindsight, they look very smart, indeed very strong. So he's building on that, and there's no reason he can't continue to build on that. Maybe another way of putting it is, if I were somebody contemplating running against the mayor or county judge in the next election, I'd get busy looking for another opportunity to do something else.
Yeah, and we expect to hear from the mayor momentarily. They have the daily briefing with the county judge and the mayor, and they'll both be joining us as soon as they get free from that.
Let's go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back to our Fairfax, KSAT, and Rivard Report Town Hall, where right before the commercial break we were discussing the results of this new poll regarding the coronavirus and COVID-19 concerns within our community. And again, right before the break we were discussing these favorability ratings that the polls indicated that Mayor, you're doing a great job according to a lot of the people who took this poll. Your reaction, have you first of all had a chance to go through some of these numbers and your reaction to that?
Well, there's not a whole lot of time to do much of anything at this point other than go through medical data. But I did hear that, a real confirmation of the approach that the judge and I have taken, and our city council and the commissioner's court have taken to address the spread of this virus. I think people are recognizing that this is not something that we can. This is something that needs to be taken very seriously, and you can see it in the response to the community. None of this would be happening in terms of us bringing our numbers down if people weren't, doing the work that the public health professionals have told us is necessary. Social distancing, limiting public gatherings, going through the pain and frustration of containing this virus. And we have an entire community to be grateful for, because everyone has worked together to save a lot of lives already.
Mr. Mayor, during the briefing, you talked about the separate but joint updates to the emergency orders that both the county judge and yourself are issuing. The things that stuck out to me in what I heard is the requirements for the face coverings for anybody above 10. Yeah. That was not required in the state order. How do you reconcile those things?
The governor and everyone we have heard from in this entire response for the last 4 weeks has been talking about the importance of face coverings as a way of adding additional protection to our community in a space where we know that asymptomatic spread of the virus is very much a threat. So our orders are in line with everything we've heard from our public health professionals. Even the governor himself said that we should be wearing masks. What he said we couldn't do was fine people for not wearing masks. And I will tell you, I'm seeing people wear masks all throughout this community for the last 3 or 4 weeks because the medical professionals have told us it's the smart thing to do. We haven't had to issue one fine, even when we had the ability to do that. I think what we have to do is be very clear with the public health guidance. We've got to make sure we're hearing from the medical experts, put their guidance out in as many places as we can. And in this case, it's in the orders that you have to wear a mask. And businesses have the ability to require masks when you walk in. So let's protect one another and do what the CDC and every public health professional who's looking at this virus has told us is the smart thing to do. Wear a mask if you're going to come within 6 feet of somebody that's not in your house.
So there's not a fine or a penalty with if people don't wear a mask?
We are not permitted by state law to levy a fine, but there are. I will tell you, there's compliance all across the board with the mask guidance for the last 4 weeks, not because we've been issuing fines, but because people know they're saving lives and keeping each other healthy by doing so, and that's what they should continue to do.
All right, thank you, Mayor. We're going to take another quick commercial break. We'll be right back after this.
COVID-19, where we are, where we're going, and what are voters telling us in Bexar County? That's kind of what circles around this Fairfax KSAT Rivard Report poll.
And Mr. Rivard, I want to address this next question to you. You know, we spoke a little bit about the findings in terms of the judge and the mayor. What other key findings did this poll have? Well,
very, very clearly, people are uncertain about what the future holds, the near-term future, in terms of flattening the curve and when we'll see a steady and uninterrupted decline in the number of positive cases and fatalities. We're already starting to see that, thankfully, but people are being cautious. So there's very strong support for the social distancing aspects of the emergency order, and hopefully that'll extend going forward into voluntary mask use. I'm not bothered by the fact the city can't levy fines. I think our police and first responders have more important things to do than to chase people not wearing masks. But I think appealing to people's greater sense of community and the greater sense of good is the way to get people to wear masks, as well as to get businesses to enforce a no mask, no service rule. Clearly, the next big challenge for the judge and the mayor is going to be to shepherd us through a very phased-in reopening of the economy. It's going to be very difficult, as we saw from the governor's order. You can order something open, but that doesn't open it.
Yeah, we heard from several businesses yesterday who said we can't make it on 25% occupancy. There's no need for us to even open under 25% occupancy. Christian, your quick takes from what
Steve,
you saw.
I would just hope that all of the viewers at KSAT.com would go to bearfacts.org to check out the entire survey. Every question that we asked 99, and all of the crosstabs, who we sampled, and the demographics are all available on the website at bearfacts.org. One, I think the biggest number to me that stood out was the number of people that think the worst is yet to come. Two other big numbers that stood out to me were people that thought food insecurity was an extremely serious problem for their families, and income inequality, and the loss of jobs were very serious problems that we're going to have to deal with for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, EC's looked at the website and said, wow, there's a lot in there. That's an understatement. It's broken down by crosstabs, broken down. I mean, if you want info, it's there.
Yeah.
We're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back. The bad and the worry all come out in this poll, and we're going to talk more about it at the top of the hour. County Judge Nelson Wolf is with me in studio. We're adding the Bexar County Brain Trust to our already elite panel. We'll see you on KSAT.com.